does this work again? Honestly, I went on holiday for a week, I came back, I've forgotten how to film. Although while I may have left my talent on holiday, it would seem that I have brought the sunshine back with me. And you know what that means. That means that summer is right around the corner, and by my estimation, we only have time for one more spring clean. So let's get on that, shall we? It's Leanne and welcome back to a new video. Not only am I dripping with relaxation from my holiday, but I am also dripping with news. I mean, that was a slightly disturbing visual, but let's just go with it. That's right, I am not only here to bring you my June TBR, but I am also here to bring you an announcement. Because we are having ourselves a readathon, baby. If you've been around my channel for a little while, then you will know that I am one of the hosts for the wonderful Mixtapeathon. Mixtapeathon is based on the idea of an old 90s mixtape where you would collect together all of your absolute favourite songs, your immaculate vibes for that season, and those would be the background theme tune to everything played on repeat. So far for Mixtapeathon, we have had a summer round, an autumn round and a winter round. And some of you might have been wondering what happened to the spring round. Actually a very fair question and something we were wondering ourselves. It turns out for the hosts of Mixtapeathon, which include myself, my lovely friend Amy from Amy Talks Books on Bookstagram, and the lovely Jean from Jean's Thoughts here on BookTube, unexpectedly extremely busy for all of our mixtape hosts. We have all of us had massive life changes, ahoy, most of them positive. But it meant that the time to do a full 2-week round of the Mixtapeathon was slowly sifting through our fingers like sand in death's domain. It's a wee Terry Pratchett reference for you there. But as things have finally settled down for all of us, we thought, what is better than a flash round of mixtape? A 1-week rapid fire round that you could use as many or as few books as you like for, all themed around the idea of spring cleaning our TBRs. You know, before all of those big summer releases come around, before you have to commit to exactly how many books that you can fit in your luggage if you're going on a summer holiday, before our fellow teachers among us try to cram all of their year's worth of reading into their summer break. So without further ado, I present to you the spring clean edition of the mixtape bingo board. There's going to be a lot of bingo boards in this video. So as always, I am going to go through the board with you square by square and let you know what I have picked for my TBR for the Mixtapeathon. But first off, let's talk dates. The flash spring clean version of the Mixtapeathon will take place between Monday the 5th and Monday the 12th of June. That is 7 full days of mixtaping plus, you know, an extra little bit. Just, you know, at the end there if you need some extra support. As always, we will have reading sprints going on for the readathon. Those dates should be down in my description below. And also down below in my description you will find our Spotify playlist for this round of Mixtapeathon. So, you know, I can't play the songs for you here because copyright and capitalism, but I can link you to them down below. And as with every other round of the Mixtapeathon, we have 5 reading prompts and 4 self-care prompts. Because while this is a kind of like a roller coaster version of the Mixtapeathon, we still want you to take care of you. And again, our self-care prompts are strategically placed around our board so that if you are going to get a bingo, you are going to have to do something nice for yourself to do it. It's our job to take care of each other, even if we don't take care of ourselves very well. Okay, with all of that preamble out of the way, let's look at the prompts. The first prompt right up in the corner here is the song Jackson by Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash. Jackson is a song about the intention and the anticipation of doing something, and so for this prompt we would like you to read one of your most anticipated reads. This could either be one of your most anticipated reads for this year. It might be a book that's only just come out that you've set on a shelf and you're waiting for that perfect rainy day. No rain, that was a saying. It was a turn of phrase, it was not a request. Or it could be a book that you have been anticipating for a really long time that's sitting on your shelves. It might be a book that you're just wandering by and thinking one day you shall be mine. Well, today is that day, or next week is that day. During the readathon is that day. We want you to read that book. Carrying along that top row, the next prompt is the song Leave Get Out by JoJo. This is the first of our self-care prompts, and for this one we are challenging you to accept that you are not going to read a book on your TBR. We all have books that we have kept on our shelves, on our Kindles, and our audiobook libraries for far too long. It might be a case that one of those books was really popular once and you bought it during the hype and now the hype's worn off and you really don't care. It might be that that's a book from a genre that you don't usually read. It may be a gargantuan sized book that just keeps putting you off. But no matter the reason that you originally purchased that book, you know in your soul every time you look at it that you're like, I'm never gonna pick that book up. So whether you just want to quietly delete that book from your digital device and absolve yourself of the guilt, or whether you want to, like me, film a big salty unhaul about it, either way, you do you, but get rid of that book. And then finally on this top row we have the song Quarter Life Crisis by Taylor Beckett. A song that I suggest we can all relate to no matter how many quarters of our life we are in. And for this prompt we want you to pick up a book that you have been putting off because you're worried that you're gonna hate it. Again, that book may have been a hugely hyped book at one point and the hype just scared you off. Or it might be that there's a lot of pressure on that book. Maybe a lot of your friends like it and they've been dying for you to read it for years. It might be a book that somebody has given you as a gift because they think you'll love it, but it's really outside of your normal genres. Or maybe it's the last book in one of your favourite series and you've been putting it off because you're just terrified that you're gonna hate the ending. Whatever reason you have been putting this book off, we want you to pick it up for this readathon. Okay, which way will I go? I think I'll come down to this one. This is another one of our self-care prompts to the song Anticipation by Carly Simon. The song Anticipation is all about not being able to anticipate the future, not knowing what is coming, and so allowing yourself to soak into the moment, allowing yourself to enjoy the now. And so for this one, we would like you to take some self-care time. Whether for you that means a bath and a book, whether it means a walk, whether it means cooking yourself a nice meal, whether it means taking time away from screens or maybe binging an entire season of your favourite show. Whatever for you constitutes taking some time for yourself, taking some time to enjoy the moment, that's what we want you to do. Next up, going along this row, we have the song Replay by Ayaz. And you know what I'm gonna say, don't you? No, don't worry, it's not reread a book because we know that we are not all rereaders here. I think you're a little bit weird if you don't, but that's okay because we're all weird in our own ways. No, the prompt replay is to pick up a book that you soft DNF'd and to finish it. In case you're not familiar with the idea of a soft DNF, it's when you pick up a book and you start it and either it's not the right time, you're not in the right mood for it, or maybe it's quite a complicated plot and you just didn't have the brain power for it. Or maybe you, like me, picked up a book at some point and thought, oh, I should read this now for X reason, but all your brain really wanted was fantasy or horror or romance. And don't worry, we've got you covered. If you are not actually somebody who does soft DNF a book, if you just instead let that book sit on your currently reading shelf for like 6 months, we want you to pick up one of those books. One of the books that you've been slowly slogging through, one chapter every couple of months. We want you to pick up that bad boy and get it off your TBR. And then finally on this row we have another one of our self-care prompts. This is Love Me For Me by Rina Sawayama. This song is all about showing up for yourself right now, being kind to yourself right now for the person who you are in this moment. And so for this prompt we would like you to set yourself some positive intentions for the summer season. It's a really short manageable window of time to decide whether you want to achieve something new, or maybe there's a personal goal that you really want to work on for that time. Maybe you've got something creative that you keep putting off that you would like to prioritise. We want you to take 5 minutes, check in with yourself and decide what should be a priority for you in the summer. And then for the final row, let's just follow suit and come down into this corner. The next prompt is for the song Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix. Much like the rest of this board, Little Wing is about taking joy in the things that you love. And so for this prompt, we would like you to pick up a book that you think is going to be a comfort read. Comfort reads for me are sometimes rereading some of my favourite books, but sometimes they are just reading a brand new book in one of my favourite genres. You might consider a comfort read something like cozy fantasy or cozy romance, or a comfort read for you might be picking up something that your friends have told you you're absolutely gonna love because they just know your taste. Whatever a comfort read means for you, we would like you to pick it up for this prompt. Next up, middle of the bottom row, we have our very last self-care prompt, and this one is to the song Good As Hell by Lizzo. Flash readathons can be incredibly fun. They can push you to read more than you normally would in a short space of time. They can force you to think outside of the box and really analyse your TBR, but they can also be a teeny weeny little bit stressful. And so somewhere in this 1 week flash readathon, we would like you to do something for 1 hour that is not reading related. Again, if your hobby is getting out in nature, off you go. Or maybe you are like me and you have a current hyperfixation which might also be Joshua Jackson and watching all of the things that he's ever been in. That's okay, girl, go do that. Whatever your favourite hobby is outside of reading, give yourself an hour to just sit down and do that with no guilt. And then finally, for our last little prompt down in the corner, we have the song Breakups by Seaforth. This song is all about having only one person that you want to talk to in that moment. Only one person that's on your mind, only one person that you're thinking about. And so for this one, we would like you to pick up a book by one of your favourite authors. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a favourite author like Olivia Blake, who's just bringing out all of the books this year. Or maybe one of your favourite authors has brought out a book that's been sitting on your shelf for a while because it's the last one you've got to read from them and you're putting it off until they bring out something else. Also a thing that I'm rampantly guilty of. Or again, maybe, just maybe, you're somebody who's been waiting for an excuse to reread the first book in one of your favourite series by one of your favourite authors. However you would like to interpret this prompt, we want you to go back to an author that you have absolutely loved and read something from them. So that's it, guys. That is the entire bingo board for the flash spring clean version of the Mixtapeathon. We are so incredibly hopeful that you are as excited as we are for this one. Now, before I stop talking about this, you may have noticed that the prompts this time around are a little bit different from our usual prompts, and that's because as this is a flash week-long readathon that we're just like dropping on you at the last minute, hopefully a lot of the books that are already on your TBRs for this month will be able to fit in with some of these prompts. As always, we absolutely advocate using this bingo board in exactly the way that you would like to do so. If you would like to pick an individual prompt for every one of those 5 reading prompts, you do that. If you are a massive coward like me and you would like to double up on some of these, then you join me on the double up train. Really, this time around, I think you could use as few as 2 books and manage to complete off this board. However you would like to do it, we want the Mixtapeathon to always be a chill and happy vibe. And as always, I will have all of the information for this down below, the dates, a link to our Instagram where we are very active during mixtapes, bingo board templates for your social media and also for printing out in your journals, and live show dates, so keep an eye out down below. Alright, so with all of that said and done, let's have a look at my personal bingo board for this year. Hi, if you're new to my channel, my name is Leanne and I like bingo boards a whole lot. So much so that I'm torturing myself with my very own one for the whole year. If you are new to my channel and you have not yet seen my year-long bingo board challenge, then I will link the video up here and down below where you can see all of the instructions and explanations for how it works. You can peruse that at your own leisure. And yeah, let's just jump into those numbers, shall we? First of all, we have my read 80% of my 2023 purchases square. As you can see, last time around, this one was sitting at 23% completed, and I am delighted to let you know that it is now sitting at 27% completed. It has in fact gone up. The bad news is, however, that it has not gone up very far. For those of you who also do not do the mathing, that is only a 4%. And 4% in a month, just it ain't gonna cut it. But if we took a second to actually look at the things that I read in May, you would also see that 4% just doesn't add up. In fact, I read enough new purchases in May that I should have gone up by several many more percent. But unfortunately, your girl bought more books. I filmed a haul just before I went on holiday, I bought books on holiday, and I came back to more books. And so now that I've added those new books to my 2023 purchases spreadsheet, this number has shrunk, which is funny, I guess, because it really is the definition of you did this to your damn self. And so out of pure fear, I am finally going to be listening to you guys' advice. One of the most frequent things that I have seen in my comments from you guys about my bingo board is that DNFs absolutely should count towards my numbers, because effectively I have done the work already. I kept up my end of the bargain. It wasn't my fault that I didn't end up reading the book. One of the reasons that I didn't do this originally is because I didn't want it to feel like cheating, because you guys know that I am pro DNF. If a book is not not working for me, if a book is slow, if a book is boring, I am quite happy to be like, nope, that is enough book for me, off you go to a better home. And because of that, my DNF rate has been creeping up as the years go on. I am less and less willing to sit through a book that's just okay when I could be reading a book that's great. And so I was worried that adding DNFs to this number might not make it look, I don't know, authentic. But you guys are entirely correct. I would count DNFs for any other kind of challenge that I do, so it is kind of dumb that I don't count them for this. So I'm not going to go back and redo any of the maths for any of my squares, but going forward I am absolutely going to count DNFs towards this number, which will mean that it will creep up a little bit faster. And the other piece of advice that I am going to take comes from this lovely comment from Elira, which tons and tons of you thumbs up. And the comment says, here's an idea for a reward. Once you've reached the second star, so filling a square twice, you can use that second star as a bonus that offers you a 5% reduction on your reading 80% of your 2023 purchases, which would then lower it to 75%. That way you keep the motivation for reading books that fit a square you've already filled, and at the same time it helps you to keep the motivation for reading the 80% of the 2023 square by making it seem less non-achievable. Elira, I love you a whole lot. You are incredibly sensible. Thank you for gamifying my game and trying to make it more fun for me. Because while I know that you guys love to watch me be tortured, I also know that you guys love me to succeed. And so that is exactly what I am going to do. For example, last time around I completed my read 5 non-fiction books square, and I put a little star in the corner to indicate that I had, because I absolutely know that I'm going to continue reading non-fiction books this year. But now after May's reading, we are once again at 3 out of 5 completed for a second star in this square. And so once I've completed my second star in this one, as per Elira's wonderful suggestion, I will bring my read 80% down to read 75%. My next square that I have to update you guys on is my read 12 buddy read square. In this square I buddy read books with my friend Amy, who is also one of our mixtape hosts, and we are absolutely thrilled to tell you that we did in fact complete our May buddy read, and so we are 5 out of 12. Small round of applause for us and our follow through and dedication, because in other areas of our life it is lacking. And then next, I am so happy to be able to tell you guys that lovely spouse Harry and I are in fact reading not just one but 2 books together right now. I'm filming this right at the end of May, so there is actually a good chance that we will have finished the book that we have started reading aloud together this month, and I'll tell you more about that book when I go through the rest of my TBR. My next square to update you on is my read 12 book square, and sadly I made 0 progress on this. 0 progress in May. I still have not read To the Bridge, which has been on my TBR for the last 2 months. For some reason, I just can't make myself spend any more time reading a screen right now. All I want to do is read physical books. So I have a very strong feeling that I'm going to be bringing you a reading vlog in the near future, which is reading only things off of my Kindle, because otherwise we are going to fall massively behind on this square. However, unlike my Kindle book square, my read 12 audiobook square has gone up from 4 to 5, and I am currently listening to number 6. I not only feel very smug about this one because I've actually made progress, but I also feel kind of really nice about it, because I really want to get back into the habit of listening to audiobooks instead of just listening to music. Not gonna lie, my Joshua Jackson hyperfixation of the moment has helped with this one, because the audiobook that I read was Oracle, which was narrated by him. But it was also one of the books from my backlist in my audiobook library, so I suppose that's one tick for me. And then in a chorus of as per freaking usual, this row hasn't changed. I haven't touched, let alone finished, any more of my ongoing series, and I am yet to bring you one of my earworm challenge vlogs, although that one will be changing in the month of June. Yeah, so well, that was all of the numbers and a lot of little squares. There's been a lot of little squares shown in this video so far. So let's just talk about some actual books, shall we? What we're all really here to see alongside the Leanne torture. Alright, first up, let's talk about the books that are on my TBR for Mixtapeathon. Let's get them out of the way first. As I said, normally I would pick one book for every one of the reading challenges. My success rate for Mixtape has been mixed. I have both smashed it and absolutely tanked it in the past. But because this is only a flash round and it's only 1 week, I am not going to do that to myself. Instead, I am going to pick 3 books and I am going to make sure that those 3 books also count towards some of my bingo board goals. Because we're all about the multiple check boxes this year. So for both the read an anticipated read and also read a book that you've been putting off because you think that you'll hate it squares, I'm going to be reading Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Red Rising is one of my most anticipated books because it is one of Becca's favourite books, and when it comes to science fiction and fantasy, Becca and I often have very similar reading tastes. We both like a particular kind of pace of plot, we both like a book which absolutely mortally emotionally wounds us, and we both like characters that we can absolutely sink our teeth into and root for book upon book upon book. However, it is also a book that I am terrified that I am going to hate because I am really worried that emotionally it's just going to be one note of pain all the way through. And that is because of the premise of this book. So Red Rising is a sci-fi and it is about Darrow. Darrow is a red, which is the lowest caste in the society that he lives in. He is mining under the surface of Mars because he believes that he is making the surface livable for future generations, that the precious resources that he and his fellow reds are gathering are necessary to build a colony above ground which is livable for everybody. But in the beginning of this book, Darrow discovers that everything that he has ever known is actually a lie, and in fact his society reached the surface of Mars generations and generations ago and have been living up there in palatial luxury while using the reds below to mine the resources that they need to continue their lifestyle. When Darrow discovers this, he decides that he is going to do something that nobody else has ever done. He is going to risk his life to infiltrate the Institute. The Institute is a place that trains the golds, the highest members of the caste system in this world. It is, as the back of the book calls it, a proving ground for them. And then from what I understand, once there he has to compete in trials to become one of the golds and to move into the upper echelons of society so that he can ruin the system from within. Now, while this plot sounds like something that I would absolutely love because it is kind of con artistry at its finest, I am also really concerned that because of the type of life that Darrow is living, where he has essentially discovered himself to be a slave, this book is just going to be layer upon layer of textured misery. And you guys know that while that is something that I love to feel the pain, I also need there to be highs and lows. I need there to be like lighter moments, not necessarily funny moments, but moments of brevity where everything doesn't feel so like the world is on the main character's shoulders all the time. And I don't know if I am going to get that here. So I have a little bit of fear. Now, next up for prompt number 5, which is to read a book that you soft DNF'd, and also for prompt number 9, which is to read a book from your favourite author, I am going to be finally finishing European Travels for the Monstrous Gentlewoman by Theodora Goss. This is the second book in the Athena Club trilogy, which is a retelling of some classic horror novels through the eyes of the women who were missing from them. In the first book, The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, we are following Mary Jekyll as she buries her mother and realises that she is alone and destitute. She has absolutely no prospects and is desperately looking for a way to make money, and so she decides to go after the man who killed her father many years ago, a man known as Hyde. The bounty from finding Hyde would not only financially set her up for a very long time, but would finally answer a lot of questions that she has had for her entire life. But of course it is not that simple, and so in finding Hyde she also finds a number of other daughters of some very famous men from some classic horror novels, and they band all together and make the Athena Club. In this second book, which is an absolute freaking doorstop, we are travelling all the way to Europe and we are trying to unpick the mysteries of a secret society to which some of the girls' fathers belong and what its ultimate goal is. This series is so special to me and so close to my heart. Alchemist's Daughter is one of those books that I just could not stop talking about when I read it. I was halfway through what I think is about 850 pages and I took a pause and I just never picked it up again. And I think partially it is my old horrible habit of knowing that once I finish this, I only have one book left. It's only a trilogy. It's completed. There probably aren't going to be any more books in this universe and I'm so sad about it. But also that's not a reason to not finish this book. So I am going to be finally finishing this book, which has literally been on my TBR since I think November. That's how long it's been sitting on my bedside cabinet. You probably saw it in my bookshelf tour. And then finally for prompt 7, which is read a book which you think is going to be a comfort read, I am going to be reading Wayward by Amelia Hart. Wayward is a book that was on my 2023 most anticipated list and I just get such good vibes from it. It makes me think that it's going to be a book that if it's done well, I am going to read and read and read again. This is a book that is told in 3 separate timelines. In 2019, we are following Kate. She has run away from what I believe is an abusive relationship and basically left all of her life behind. She's cut ties with everything that she had and everybody that she knows, and she is heading for the only place that she has got left, which is Wayward Cottage. Wayward Cottage has been in Kate's family for years and years and years, and when she gets there she discovers that the place really does hold all of the echoes of the woman who lived in it before. That woman was Violet. She lived in that cottage in 1942. Violet also feels completely constrained by her circumstances, but for her it's society's expectations. It's feeling like she can't actually be the person who she knows herself to be. But tying together both of these women is Altha in 1619, the person who originally constructed Wayward Cottage. And in 1618, Altha is awaiting a trial for murder and also a trial for witchcraft. I am so excited for this book and I want it to be all of the things that I want. I want it to kind of have the atmosphere of Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I want it to have that kind of haunting feel that Hex by Jenny Fagan has. I have a lot of high hopes for this one. I want it to be a comfort read. Now, let's look at the other books on my TBR which I can tell you about this month because there are some secret books. First of all is one of the new perks on my Patreon. My patrons get to control an element of my reading every month, and this month they got to vote in this poll here for my next buddy read with me and my lovely friend Amy, and the book that my patrons selected was The Witches of Vardo by Anya Bergman. And it's interesting that my patrons have picked this one as our June buddy read when I have also picked Wayward for my TBR, because this one also kind of has a 3-pronged plot and it's also set in 1662. So this one initially opens with Zigri. She is a widow, she is grieving the death of her husband and she's trying to put her life back together in the best way that she can. Desperate for some kind of care and comfort, Zigri accepts the first man that comes along, who is a merchant, and she starts an affair with him. But when this affair is finally exposed, Zigri is thrown in the tower at Vardo to be tried as a witch. And then we follow Zigri's daughter Ingberg. She knows that she is the only thing that stands between her mother and execution, and she has to get to the tower at Vardo. But it is so very far away from anything that she knows. She has never left this tiny little village that she has grown up in, and Vardo is miles and miles and miles away. And so she enlists the help of a woman called Marin, who is herself the daughter of a witch. Amy and I are both really excited for this one, and I am doubly excited to be buddy reading something which is in effect complete historical fiction, because sometimes historical fiction is really not my bag and I get really bogged down in the details and bored really quickly. So I'm gonna have not only witchcraft in this one but also Amy to drag me along if I get stuck. Next up, I am going to tell you about the 2 books that I am currently reading aloud to lovely spouse Harry, because they're definitely on my TBR for the start of June. And the first of those is the absolute and complete fault of Kirsty. She told me to pick up A Curious Beginning by Deanna Rayborn, which is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series, And my god, I should just never doubt Kirsty. In the history of our friendship, she has been wrong so few times that they are negligible. Like, her percentage success rate for recommending me things really does suggest that I should only read the books that Kirsty sends me. So these books are set in 1882-ish, I think, and they are about Veronica Speedwell. She was an orphan who was taken in by two maiden aunts, not quite spinsters, and was raised by them in a very odd tradition of education where essentially she was allowed to read books on anything that she was interested in as long as she was reading books. And so she has a very, very varied knowledge for a lady of that time. And because of that, she has a very varied and progressive view on things like spicy times with foreign gentlemen, and that, like, you absolutely should have them and you absolutely should not let anybody in London society know that you have. At the beginning of this book, the last of the two aunts who took Veronica in dies, and she is finally free. She has no more obligations to them. She can do exactly what it is that she wants to do, which is go to the Amazon and hunt butterflies. But when she gets back to her cottage after the funeral, she finds that it has been completely ransacked, and there is a foreign count there who tells her that she is in grave danger and she has to come away with him right now. And who is she to turn down an adventure? Honestly guys, the amount of times that I squealed, laughed out loud, stopped reading aloud to be like, I freaking love her, and just otherwise did a tiny little dance every couple of pages was insane. And I did not expect the two together to be quite as explosive, but it is fair to say that I have purchased the other books in this series and that we will be continuing on with them because we are obsessed. And the other book that lovely spouse Harry and I started together on the drive to our holiday in the middle of nowhere was I'll Scream Later by Marlee Matlin. Neither of us read a particular lot of what I would consider to be like the celebrity memoir genre, but Marlee Matlin portrays Joey Lucas, who is one of our absolute favourite characters in the world from our absolute favourite show, West Wing, a show that we just finish rewatching and then just start again on a continuous loop. Marlee Matlin is a deaf actor and she is very, very famous for some of the roles that she has portrayed because they have been absolutely groundbreaking. And amongst other things, Marlee Matlin's love life has been a little bit all over the grid, including a little bit of a love affair with Rob Lowe, who is also somebody who I have read memoirs from and absolutely love them, also because of West Wing. Now it is ghostwritten, it's not just written by Marlee herself, but so far it has been really engaging and a really like fast-paced flick the pages read, and we are engrossed because Marlee has had a very interesting life. We'll also be continuing on reading that one. Yeah, that's all I can tell you about, because as I hinted at earlier on in this video when I showed you this row that hadn't gone anywhere yet, I have not yet done a vlog for my 12 earworm book challenge. Just as a recap, this challenge is where I pick 12 of these songs that have absolutely earwormed themselves into my head this year, and I put them all in a playlist together, kind of like Mixtape, and I pick a book that matches each song. And I'm going to bring you that challenge in vlog format. So you're going to be getting the first vlog for that one coming very soon, but I obviously can't tell you what books are on it. So you're just going to have to sit in suspenders until later in June. So that is it guys, that is the end of this month's TBR video. If you have got this far through, then please leave me a duster or a broom emoji, or maybe like a little sponge. Give me the cleaning implement of your choice in honour of the spring clean Mixtapeathon. Remember, if you do need any information at all for the Mixtapeathon, it will be down below in my description box, but if you do have any questions, then direct them over to our Instagram DMs where all three of us will be answering any of your queries. As always, if you have read any of the books that I have on my TBR for this month, then please tell me what you thought of them, whether good or bad, because we love opinions here. Also let me know down below what you think of the new rules for my bingo board, whether you think they are a good idea or not. And as always, if you have any recommendations for me to buy on my ever-growing list of 2023 purchases, then please tell me about them too. Clearly at this point, I'm just out here to make myself suffer. And I will speak to you all really soon guys. Bye!